How did I learn about the birds and the bees? It wasn't easy. My mother had a terrible time. We had gone to the fair, and I saw a horse there that had this very strange, fascinating thing hanging down. And I asked her about that. "We'll talk about it later," she said. Okay. And then I saw another animal on my aunt's farm. Same thing. "We'll talk about it later." Well, later finally came. It was in the middle of the afternoon. My mom was starting dinner. I went into the kitchen and she said, "It's time for us to have a little talk." Okay. Sit down. I sat down on the sink. I remember this afternoon vividly. And she said, "You know, the daddy has half of a baby, and the mommy has half of a baby, and the daddy has to give his half to the mommy. Now, how do you think he does that?" Oh, well, it took me, it took all afternoon, this conversation, because I was trying to guess. The number of things I guessed, touching belly buttons, all kinds of things. Then she reminded me of the horse, and my father had something like that, and he was going to give the mommy his half using that. Now, how was he going to do that? Well, I guessed and guessed. The armpit, the navel, the belly button. She finally had to tell me, but I feel for her now. This was not an easy afternoon. I was quite shocked. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that my father had done this to my mother. My grandfather to my grandmother, Mr. Fraser, did it with Mrs. Fraser, my Sunday school teacher. This was impossible. We had dinner, I went to bed, and then I really just lay in there and tried to figure this all out. It just didn't make any sense, but then suddenly I thought of Fulvio Mejia. Fulvio Mejia was my crush. Suddenly, the idea did not seem at all so gross or impossible. In fact, it seemed like a quite interesting idea.